Gentlemen,
Sorry.
you know what time it is.
Yes.
It's time for another Shooting USA podcast and VideoCast, and my esteemed colleague is back in the building.
What?
The one and only
Na-na-na.
Tony Pignato is here, not VideoCast, not Skyped. He's here.
Yeah,
The man is here.
that's right.
Welcome, Tony. Nice to
Thank
see
you. Always good seeing you, my friend.
Big things happening at Staccato, I know.
Wow, lots of big things happening. So we bought, you know this, they may not know this, but we bought a bunch of property, we being the company.
Yes.
Bought a bunch of property out in Florence, which is about probably 15 minutes away from our existing factory.
Okay.
What people may not know is that the buildings that we're in right now, we lease from the Skinner family.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Yeah, the
Dave
original,
Skinner,
the original
So the
SCI
Skinner
people, yeah.
Yeah, so but we are at maximum capacity in
no
the
doubt.
facility. Now, part of the things that we've done from a growth perspective is in order to get to, well, let me just talk about the whole thing. So in order to get from the witchcraft and folklore that was part of the way we built guns in the past,
Sure.
to get to precision manufacturing, we want to keep the human element, but we want to remove the human variable.
Right.
So in order to do that, we have to create repeatable processes, meaning that if you and I are both gunsmiths, we're going to do things slightly different. Mm-hmm. You may be right-handed, I may be left-handed, you may be stronger than me, I may have drank last night. I mean, these are all factors that come involved with the whole one gunsmith, one gun thing. These are factors that have to be involved.
Sure.
So, and then you factor in machinery. So the machinery from 2018, you know, the machinery was not, it was good machinery, but you start getting 5-axis machines, incredible, great Haas machines that when you start talking about tolerances from precision manufacturing, and your engineer smart people will know this, so it's numbers past the decimal point. These are your tolerances. So if most of your handgun manufacturers are 2, possibly 3 numbers past there.
Right.
We're 3 pushing 4 with tolerances. We build everything to our slide. Our slide is incredibly tight tolerances on our slide. Slide frame barrels all fit to the slide. We do all that in our machine shop.
Okay.
So before that gun moves over to the actual fitment plant, it's where we're doing the fire control group, the grip safeties, all that stuff. You're talking about slide, frame, barrel, link, and times done.
Yeah.
In the machine shop. Now, there's still a human element. There's still deburring. There's still hand fitting. But we're doing a match barrel fit in 3 minutes.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And to go back, if a pundit wants to critique that, like, well, it's a mass-produced 2011, it's not going to have the same quality. It's like, well, from a performance perspective, we've passed, you know, the tolerances and durability and performance tests from 425 different police departments.
Sure.
To include FBI HRT, you know, LAPD SWAT, Riverside SWAT, Long Beach SWAT, Texas Rangers SOG.
Yeah. Now that's cool.
Yeah, way cool. I didn't even know they had a special operations. Like you have special Texas Rangers.
Right.
They wear a black mask. It's really cool.
Scary.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think it's worth unpacking the fact that there is a retail price set for what is considered, in your case, a mass-produced 2011.
Sure.
How does that retail price stack up against a one-off custom 2011 built by an individual who puts his name on that specific gun one at a time? I believe that you're coming in well below when it comes to a retail price. So there is a bit of a you get what you pay for element here. However, there's also the fact that when you're doing as many as Staccato is doing, you're evolving the processes and you're fine-tuning machining processes to a level that is approaching the hand-fitted one-of-a-kind gun.
100%. Great word, evolving. A great use of it, and especially in this application. So we've been doing this together for a minute. So, you know, we're both big fans of guns.
Give take.
Yeah. Here's the thing about it. If that gun is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, they're all good guns.
That's right.
Or else they would have sold one.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of guns in general.
Sure.
I've shot hundreds of thousands of rounds out of Glocks, SIGs, you know, all kinds of guns. When you start talking about a hand-fit custom gun, it's time. I mean, that person it's a craft. When you're talking about a craftsman, like a master craftsman, it's time, and there's a lot of time involved with that. There's a lot of not to say that they're not using precision manufacturing in some capacity, but it's a lot of time that they're putting into actually hand building that gun,
Sure.
which reflects in capacity from an output standpoint.
That's right.
I mean, we're building now. In 2018, we were building 40 guns a day. We're building 120 guns a day.
Wow.
I mean, and part of the things that we've done in that space is, and I go back to thinking about some of the friends I have who are great, amazing custom gun builders, is they're buying a slide from this guy, the frame from this guy, a grip from here. They're doing a barrel from here. They got some new barrel links from a third party. So all of this, you become basically a parts fitter.
Right.
Everything's slightly oversized. Well, we don't have to. We try to manufacture as much as we can in-house. And when we move to our new plant, obviously we're going to be 95% in-house manufacturing of all of our parts.
Sure.
But if we do outsource a part, that part's got to be specific in its design. So it may have slight oversize so that we can have that precision fit.
Sure.
But I'm not taking 20, I'm not taking this many thousands of thousands off a barrel to contour it to make it do this, or a link, that's the reason we do our own extractors. That's the reason we do our own sears and hammers, is because we can create that uniformity across, and that's how the process gets faster. We don't have to spend as much time being a parts fitter.
Right.
Ideally, it would be great to make a precision, at that level to where it goes together. I mean, literally, where you've got, talk to Dave Dawson, who's been doing this for a long time. Dave's one of the original plank holders at then STI,
right,
and a great friend of our company now. And we reach out to him. I mean, he's literally, if you have never spent time talking to Dave Dawson is literally John Nash, beautiful mind, smart.
Wow.
Like, that dude is like, you go in his shop and it looks like the most amazing dental office you've ever been in your life. And he's got like 6 or 8 Haas machines. That's just his research and development plant.
Wow. And
the dude's incredibly smart, and he's got an amazing system the way he runs things, and he's got so many different parts and pieces in his mind and there's, I can't go into detail, but there's representations of Dave Dawson's designs in a lot of the guns on the market.
Yeah, sure.
His optics system, front sights, other, adaptations he's done along the way. But so when you talk to Dave, and Dave's like, I believe now, with technology present, with probes and design and tolerances of machines and tool materials and improvements in that technology, that you can be 90% off a machine.
So that's the next question is what's the attainable goal? How far can we go with the technology, with the continued development at the rate that you all need to produce? How far can we go?
I would like to see, we always want to have that human element, like I talked about initially. We always want to have that human element involved, because one of the things about it, even all through all these different probes, there's something for that master gunsmith,
right,
to be able to run through a final check and see something, feel. It's hard to feel. A probe is great, but it's hard to feel something, or feel something going through the cyclic process of actually shooting the firearm, or looking at how this is slightly off of that, and making that on-the-spot adjustment. So I think we're always going to have that human element.
Right.
The same as you have master engineers that are building, for our previous conversation, are building Mercedes motors.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the new ones are good.
The new ones are good. Yeah, the vans are great.
Yeah. I'm excited about the fact that this company is seeing beyond owning brick and mortar to continue producing and expanding the space. And let's, as much as we can, talk about the goals and the vision for this entire complex that they're looking to establish.
Right on. So, as you know, what has evolved into me being full-blown into an experience position, which is great. And that's truly it, is we've gone away from features and benefits of our products to the experience of our products. If you think about the message of shoot better, well, that's an experience.
Sure.
That's not a fit. That's not sure. It is a benefit. It is a feature. There's an inherent engineering and process that goes into our guns that make them shoot really, really well. But to experience shooting better.
100%.
Is something that has evolved to the point that, we were looking for a new place to go because we needed to grow as a manufacturer. We needed to have a bigger space, so we bought some property in Florence, which is about 15 minutes away from where we're at. We're actually right down the street from Dawson Precision.
Okay, convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. And it's an unbelievable piece of property, and we back up right to the Department of Public Safety. Like our facility's here. The back of our facility is here, and DPS we corner like this, like literally. And when I brought the first group of guys and gals out there to look at it, I used the Lion King thing. I'm like, everywhere the sun touches is your kingdom. Like, it's literally an amazing piece of property. And you're talking about just about, I think we got some adjacent properties. You're talking about at least 800 acres.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
So 40 of those acres is the Pignato manufacturing plant.
Okay.
Which is going to have also test fire bay in there, but that's the entire manufacturing plant. And then the rest of it is just going to be experience-based.
Excellent.
That's in a nutshell. What those experiences are is the world is our oyster. Again, as you know, that when I came to the company, one of the biggest things we had to overcome was we were exclusive. We wanted to be inclusive.
Sure.
I think one of the things that makes and to look at the rise of Steel Challenge is inclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about Steel Challenge, you don't have to be in Shane Coley's shape. You don't have to be as fast as Casey Eusebio. You don't have to be as technical and strategic as Max Michel. I mean, you do, but you could entry level guy, a gal can go into stand in spot, change slight movement. I mean, that inclusivity and that, I think that's also for everybody else. I think it's one of the things that's been so great about our products is we went from exclusively a competition pistol to an inclusive usage of a gun to make you better in whatever situation you're in, which is why because the gun's easier to shoot, less recoil, less disruptive energy, when everything else is hard, which is the popularity of the tactical games, which I'm sure we're going to talk about today.
That's on deck. But I like the idea of the experience sells the product, and I had that experience with you putting on a Pignato 2011 experience here in Nashville some months ago at Royal Range, and we had a number of different individuals cycle through, shoot free ammunition out of some of the finest handguns, and in one case, one individual who had no experience at all of any kind shooting any handgun ever, his first shots out of a Pignato, and I mean, the guy went on and on for a half an hour about how great it was not only to experience a fine piece of engineering advancement in the form of that pistol, but also to have had the experience and had the instruction that we gave him as a brand new shooter. I guarantee you that guy has, if not ordered, already received his Pignato after that day and that experience. And I know that's just one little slice of what you've been doing across the country. Now to have the ability to put that somewhere close to home, close to manufacturing, where it might be the general public, it might be the next law enforcement agency or next group that's going to buy a series, they can all come and have a curated version of what we did that day at Royal Range. I think that has to be exciting as the experience officer.
Oh, it's incredibly exciting. When one of the things that I've learned after spending numerous hours in professional development with the engineers and other people trying to understand, because I want to know, I'm the why guy. Like, I want to know why. Why? Because when I'm standing in front of customers, I want to be able to explain why. And when you sit down and you start to look at, 2011, got it. Okay, it's got a match barrel. Got it. It's got a 1911 style trigger. Got it. So, but what is it? Remember and I call it the general population or that group of the secular market, for lack of a better reference. If you consider, the competitive shooter and the elitist is that religious zealot, and this is the secular, the non-religious, the secular market. They walk off the range and the statement is, hey man, I don't suck, my guns do, but why is that?
Right.
And go into the details, and I said, hey, man, listen, there's two ways I can do this. I can give you all the rocket science about how this does this, you go in the range, shoot the gun, and come back out, and I'll explain why you have that stupid look on your face with that smile and why you did so much better. And it really, if you think about this, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know or the viewers don't know or people who follow Shooting USA, is hitting a target efficiently and effectively with a handgun is you line up the sights, and this has got nothing to do with grip, nothing to do with grip pressure, and line up the sights, squeeze the trigger without disrupting the sight picture.
There you go, yeah.
That's it. I literally say that in front of people. I go, hey, you never have to take another class again. There you go. Because I've watched the secular market get out there, and they're all jacked up. Patow, and a beep, patow, pateep. And it's... Right. So again, now what else do we do? So if you think about the fundamentals of handgun marksmanship, everything else we do is we're mitigating disruptive energy.
Sure.
100%. We're recoil. Recoil is disruptive energy. It pulls you off the target. Now you start taking other platforms that are out there, and you start looking at the science between reciprocating mass versus non-reciprocating mass, reciprocating mass weight in balance of the, where the weight's balanced throughout the reciprocating mass. You take let's say a Glock 19, you got 70-something% of the total way the gun moves. Mm-hmm. Well, guess who has to be the non-reciprocating mass? We do.
Right.
And that's why if you look at people who do performance stuff on Glocks, what do? They lighten slides.
Right.
And they lighten slides, they do all this other stuff, they make grips heavier.
Or they weight down the grip.
They put a big fat weight on the end of the grip.
Yep. It's, that I think is that key element that maybe is overthought sometimes, but it's also a situation that it's easy to say and it's hard to do at any level, whether you're a beginner, and that is, effectively line up the sights and pull the trigger in such a way that you don't disrupt the sights. That's
hence dot popularity.
Easy to say, pebble in hand, all of that, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you have a gun that works the way a 2011, especially a staccato 2011 works, that piece is a little more attainable. Mm-hmm. And that's why somebody at any level of proficiency can see success. Mm-hmm. And that's fun. When you apply that fundamental basis to a new version of a shooting sport like the tactical games, where you're going to be stressed physically before it's time to align the sights and effectively, quietly pull the trigger and not disrupt the sights. Now you need every advantage you can get when it comes to breaking that proper shot, because the rest of it is completely out of the gun's scope of capability. You have to be physically fit to be competitive in these things. I've not been to one. I've only seen it on the internets. I've seen some of the stuff that you've shown from the ones you've been to, so you know better than I. I'm getting ready to go to my first one, and of course, it's the National, so wow. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why your gun is so popular there.
That's a true story. The back up to how we got involved with tactical games, real quick, is so the tactical games we got involved with Tim. Tim Burke was the originator, the inventor of it. Special operations guy, made it kind of like a selection, process, very physically fit, demanding, threw in curveballs in there to test mental capacities and stuff like that. Tim's still an active part from an advisory panel. Jared Halbert purchased the business and now runs it. Jared's a multi-time champion, regional champion, incredibly smart guy, came from the competitive shooting sports, has owned a few businesses along the way. And what's interesting is that statement that you made about all these other physical things that are involved with this is when everything, Jared says this, he said, when everything else is hard, shooting is easy.
Right.
Because if I don't have to, go back to the original statement, if I don't have to manage disruptive energy, if I don't have to increase grip, I don't have to focus on all these things because it's easier to shoot, then when I'm smoked, I get up there and all I got to do is position myself. Remember, a miss is 10 seconds.
Right.
So that means, imagine in a wad. Yeah. Or anything you're doing. And maybe it's just something, whatever it is. 10 seconds is, could be 3 reps. Sure. So you're talking about 10 seconds per miss.
Right.
And you've got some of their battles or some of their courses of fire that will have 30 pistol shots.
Right.
And people walk off of a course of fire. I mean, you're going to see this when you come to the National. You're going to see some incredibly physically fit people.
Sure.
And you're gonna walk around because we're fitness guys. We're like, oh, that's a podium right there. Podium right there. That's definitely podium. Podium right there. And then all of a sudden you'll get to the end of the first stage and be like 27 mics. And literally, and literally you'll see dude just clunk, clunk, clunk. I mean, one of the things that Jared is very focused on making sure in the staff, Jake and Sarah, is you can't be in too good a shape to not be able to shoot. You can't be too good of a shooter to not be able to be in shape.
That's right.
So they found that perfect balance of it because literally you cannot go in there and be. I mean, they've got pros. They got what's his name, Hepner.
Yeah, Jacob Hepner. A multi-time CrossFit Games athlete.
Yeah.
Shows up at the Arizona event and wins his division.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's I think that's been a 6-month process for him to get there because
he's been shooting and he's been working with he's been working with Julie Golub. I know that. There's been some video on her range working with her. So I mean, it's an interesting piece. I mean, if you can shoot though, I think he's got a bit of a background prior. So he definitely has the fitness piece in place, but it's going to be interesting for me, and it'll be fun for me because it's a new shooting sport that I'm going to go learn about so that I can tell the audience about and help the audience understand and, at the same time, hopefully have a good time. So,
well, you're a CrossFitter, so you understand.
I mean, at
CrossFit,
47 years old in my garage, CrossFitting.
Well, again, you're a functional fitness athlete.
Yes, I agree.
So from a functional fitness athlete perspective, that's one of the great things about when I go to these events and we set up tables and we let people shoot these guns. And what's great about the CrossFit athlete or that functional fitness athlete is they understand technique and how technique equates to efficiency of movement, and efficiency of movement equates to less energy spent. And so when you talk to them about disruptive energy and you talk about energy that's going to pull me off and what technique I can use and what equipment, I mean, again, it's all about if I can have a piece of equipment that makes the execution of the pure fundamentals easier,
right?
It becomes a no-brainer.
Right.
Like, well, hey, I want that, and on the flip side of that, the gun's got to perform because you're still on the clock. So, you can have the most accurate gun in the world. And remember, these people are jumping over stuff, piling, dropping, right. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. And they're covered in dirt. I mean, you look at that thing with Ashley Horner, that last match that they did, I think it was in North Carolina. Ashley standing there with two of the other athletes, and they're just like they just got done doing a Tough Mudder.
Yeah.
And their gear's all gobbled up with crap.
Well, that's part of it.
Gun's got to work, and it's got to work. And it's got to perform. So it's got to be durable and dependable.
Speaking of guns got to work, durable and dependable, Staccato has a partnership that's now ongoing with a company that's near and dear to my heart, and that's Hoppies, the number one and only name for me, at least in gun care, for over 100 years. Every Staccato comes with Hoppies gun care products. Is that a
absolutely?
Fair statement?
Yep. Everyone ships with a sample of Hoppies Black.
And you've done a series of how to clean your Staccatos with our friends at Hoppies.
Yep, absolutely. So we spent about a year. We wanted to reach out to somebody that's been doing it for a minute.
Right.
Hoppies have been doing it for over 100 years.
That's right.
So not to take anything away from other lubrications, this is just the ideal lubrication for us. We preferred the Hoppies Black. One of the things, people in the interwebs may look at, it's especially evident in Texas, is when you first take Hoppies Black as that particular lubrication, it's a very, very low viscosity.
Right.
So it's a thin lubrication. Well, go back, old school guys in hot weather, like, well, that oil right there ain't gonna work. It's too thin,
Right.
And then you explain that it's alcohol is the delivery agent. It delivers the lubricating chemical into the nooks and crannies of the part. Oh yeah, by the way, alcohol dissipates. Now you're left with lubrication.
Right.
Reapply after your gun is, crappy poopy shot up. Reapply, and the alcohol breaks down existing carbon and continues to allow the gun to cycle. I'm coming from a couple of demos. I'm coming from an event in Dallas, coming back from Kentucky. The guns in my demo kit right now were at the Memorial 3 gun.
Wow.
They were at 3 other events since then.
Right.
And they're literally, you pull back the slide on those guns and it feels like it's on ball bearings.
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a completely transparent person on that, and I love the folks at Hoppies and the folks with Vista that we've been working with. It just works.
Yeah.
I mean, you know me. I hate to clean guns.
Yeah.
I can literally take
Same.
my entire
100%.
Yeah, 100. I could take my entire demo kit, and I tell people that says, listen, you take the silver. By the time you get to the last part in your pistol, you just go back and wipe it off. It's one rag.
Yep.
You know, Mike Pannone did a 11,000 round endurance test with a Staccato P.
That's awesome.
8,000 rounds of that was Wolf.
Yeah.
Steel case
dirty,
ammo.
Steel case junk.
And the gun came back, and I remember looking at Sean Armstrong, and he's like, man, this thing is gross. Like, he pulled back the slide, ears like brownie. It literally looked like muscle milk, like the dark chocolate muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, one rag, bro. And he goes, no way. I said, yep. You'll wipe everything off with one rag. You take a bore snake. I take the brass portions of the bore snake. I run that on the feed ramp. I run the bore snake through there. I re-oil it. And I mean, that's all you have to do. And that's, to me, in an age where there's, especially you're building a bunch of guns for law enforcement guys and operational people, you start getting this incredibly complex. Remember the Tupperware philosophy applied to, go back. Quick injection but go back to when they first started fielding rifles across most patrols. You had a lot of guys that were having rifle problems because they had the same maintenance schedule with their Glock.
Right.
And they didn't realize that, wow, I got to actually oil this rifle. I got to clean this rifle. I got to keep it lubricated. I got to keep it ready. Magazines, these other things. Well, they're fantastic plastic. They put bullets in there, stick it in their holster, and every 6 months they pull it out. They shoot some bullets. Things have changed now, obviously. But so you have to make sure you have an easy to negotiate maintenance schedule that's effective. And we've been extremely happy with them, and it's evident. I mean, our guns run. If we get a call from a customer that's talking about my gun's not doing this, the first words out of our mouth is like, when's the last time you lubricated the gun?
Right.
Now, remember, we do our own coating in-house now. We've got two different DLC machines, so our guns are already slick, even bone dry. However, they'll tell you a lot from sound. If you're racking the slide on a Staccato and it sounds like a Prius car door shutting, it needs oil.
Right.
So we actually talk about sound and other things. Like, it's American steel, buddy.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. The other thing that is constantly stressed, and I'm ready to move on from Hoppies and the partnership that's beneficial there, but Hoppies is also supporting all of the shooting sports that you see on Shooting USA, quite literally, just as Staccato is doing a lot of supporting of the shooting sports. In the case of tactical games, that's a big one for y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. The tactical games is big for us. We've also, we've got a large presence in the law enforcement community. As far as like demos and events that we partnership with, last Wednesday I was down with all the senior leadership from the Air Force Security Forces at one of their conferences. They got to shoot guns and spend some time with some amazing American heroes. So one of the things we've also done with Vista, with Hoppies, and with Blackhawk is we've done law enforcement events. Now we're doing regional law enforcement events. We're inviting in leadership from those local events, and we're the handgun they selected to be there. So we're the only handgun at these events.
Right.
And we're doing cleaning classes. We're doing armors courses. They're getting to shoot these guns. And you brought in the leadership who may not have ever considered a Staccato, and all of a sudden they come in and they're like, wait a minute, I'm starting to hear a lot of this buzzword. And then you got guys, for example, that are getting issued insert manufacturer, and the individual officers, once they find out our guns cleared hot, they're buying our guns. Now, they're not buying these guns at 75 cents a gun because, we're only 125 employees, so you're not buying a gun for that amount of money. You're buying a gun and there's a discount, but you're not talking about a huge discount. So they're spending a significant amount of monies on that. And so as we move into that, we keep doing stuff with law enforcement, doing these regional events with Hoppies and Bushnell, and then the tactical games. And we're still part of things, again, along the lines of Built for Heroes. We're a huge supporter of the Memorial 3 gun.
Yeah.
If you haven't been, and I encourage people, if you haven't, just to go to the Memorial 3 gun and be a spectator is an incredibly moving a moving few days. When a quick background, I know you this, but for the viewers and listeners, it's a multi-day match that 100% of the proceeds go back to the families of fallen operational guys and servicemen and women, and they dedicate each of the 10 stages to a specific person. Mm-hmm. So you actually meet the families.
Wow.
And they come around to each one of the stages and they'll shoot that this is my dad's stage.
Wow.
I mean, you want to talk about frickin' I mean, dude, you're like, man, these allergies. Is that? You guys got pollen? You know, I mean, you're literally so. And then in the evening, at the evening when the event ends, they do an award ceremony, and each family member from that stage gets up and talks about their loved one, their loss, and I mean, literally this year, I got up to present our we donated 3 pistols to the event, and I got up to the present. I was like, I couldn't even talk. I mean, Heather's standing next to me. She starts crying. I look to her for backup. I'm like, she's crying. I'm like, I look, and all the family members are right here in front of us. And the only thing I got out of my mouth before I lost it was like, I am so insignificant in your presence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And then I was like, and I had the certificate off, and I'm like, we donated a gun that they did a raffle for. And the raffle went out to, we sent it out to all of our customers. Our customers donated. The Staccato family donated to it. Also, other members of the community donated to it. And it was over $50K.
Wow.
I mean, total for that. I mean, just and being able to watch each one of these family members, you know, come through there and they're getting a check for $15,000 or $20,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, and it's not the money. I mean, they're literally back there, and they've got friends, people they served with are there, and there's an entire room, dude. They have the bagpipes walk through there, man.
Brutal.
I mean, I was like, I literally looked at the crowd before as I was walking up there, and I turned to one of the guys and I said, "You brought the bagpipes." I'm done. I can't do nothing with the bagpipes. But events like that, that's what we want to be a part of. We did Sugar Cookie, which was an event to honor Navy SEALs. We just did the Texas law enforcement multi-gun event at Reveille Peak. So that's really where our path has gone. You know, to quote the guy who owns our company, he said this flat out, and I don't think there's anything that better describes us. In a board meeting, we're talking about brand, and things are flipping back and forth, and people are bap, 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 bap. He says, okay, listen, let me be quite clear on what our mission statement is. We put the world's best shooting handguns in the hands of people that defend themselves, their family, their community, and this country. Does anybody here not understand what our mission statement is?
Wow.
And I'm literally on the court, because it's me and one other military guy in the room, and I'm like, who? But literally, when you have a civilian that owns your company that makes that statement, you are empowered to do greatness.
Yeah, for sure.
Like literally, hey man, don't be afraid to fail, but if you're going to fail, fail fast.
Yep.
Like literally, that's the thing. We're moving forward, man. Hey, you ain't got to hit every target, but hit most of them. You know, it's incredibly satisfying.
What a great way to end it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks again for coming through. Always a pleasure.
Always good to see you, my brother.
More from the Shooting USA podcast next time. But for this time, I'm John, that's Tony, and we're out.